Good morning. I'm Alex Treadway. I am the Associate Publisher of Route 50, and I want to welcome you to our Raleigh Tech Summit. Just a little side note, I actually spent a lot of my teenage years, my dad lived up on Glenwood, so it's wonderful to be back and see how much it's changed over the last few years. The Raleigh Tech Summit is just part of the Route 50 Tech Summit program we've been doing all year. We've done 3 of these. We started in San Francisco, went to Denver, and now here in Raleigh. These summits have brought together technologists and leaders like you to showcase innovative practices, build new relationships, share solutions to common challenges, and explore new ways to learn and work together. For those of you not familiar with Route 50, we are the state and local publication of Government Executive Media Group. We're covering best practices, technology, innovation across the country. Our journalists are dedicated to covering the stories most important to state and local government, to serve you through original reporting, research, and events. Our aim is to surface best practices happening at all levels of government, allow people to connect with each other and to share ideas. We want you to also navigate this ever-changing landscape, and that's exactly what our goal is for today as well. You'll hear technology leaders from state and local government collaborate directly with their peers across the region on common technology problems, and at 10, you'll also have the opportunity to do a unique networking session around several tech topics of your choosing. More on that later. Throughout the morning, I encourage you to tweet and put out your thoughts and questions online using social media, RF Tech Summit, hashtag RF Tech Summit. Today's event would not be possible without the generous support of our elite sponsors, NetApp and Insight, and our strategic sponsor, HP. Thank you for helping us bring together such a great group. During the breaks, please have an opportunity to go over to the table. We'll also have some networking at the end as well, where we hope you meet with our folks from Insight, HP, and NetApp. Now, if you will, please join me in welcoming Eric Boyette, Secretary of the Department of Information Technology and State Chief Information Officer for North Carolina. Eric.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming out this morning on such a warm morning in North Carolina. No, honestly, you know, in North Carolina, we never know, is our temperature going to be 30 degrees, 50 degrees? Should we wear short sleeves? Should we wear long sleeves? But thank you all for braving the weather this morning to come out to, I think this is going to be a great event. I thank Route 50 for actually having me here to kick off this great event. I know we have partnered before in the past with NASCIO. I've done some speaking with them there. Great group of technologists that help us move our issues and techs forward. So today I want to talk about things that are, I feel like I'm going in and out, so bear with me. Things that are common challenges amongst all of our technologists. So you have cybersecurity, you'll have innovation. How do we innovate, especially us in a public sector? How do we innovate knowing that we have all of our tax dollars in front of us that we're actually trying to innovate with? So all with that, we also talk about broadband. So how do we work together to increase our broadband coverage throughout the state? So there's things like that I want to talk about with you today. And forgive me also, I got to make sure I push. All right. Let's go back. There we go. Let's start off by talking about cybersecurity and what our cyber initiatives and what we're working on here in the state and how we're trying to defend, protect, and be resilient with all the attacks that we have against us across our state. You know, as each of us in this room is top of our mind. And with NASCIO, one of the polls that we've done, we always do a top 10 for our state CIOs. And cybersecurity is always in the top 5. It has been in the top 5 over the past 10 years, and it will continue to be, I foresee, in the future. But if you think about what do we do together? So what we're doing in North Carolina, we've seen an increase in local attacks with our municipalities. Which way do I need me to move? You're good. So with our municipalities, how do we defend? What can we do to help prepare and protect? And also, if there is an attack, how do we step in to help? What can we offer? What are some things that we can do? So with that, we've got a lot of partnerships that we work on. And one thing that we've done is we've got a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with our National Guard through our Department of Public Safety, which you hear a lot now across all the states. I think we were one of the first to start doing that. It's very productive for us. We, my peer, Secretary Eric Hooks with the Public Safety Unit, we partner a lot with things, and this is just one. But the National Guard is something where if we do have an attack on one of our municipalities or agencies, we can actually deploy the Guard within 24 hours. So it's something that we're very proud of. We're not proud of the fact that we have to do it, but when we do, we're proud of the fact that we can offer some assistance. We also have the ability to offer contracts through our state rate to some of the municipalities and our local governments. That also helps. We also created a security operations center. We did not staff that internally because there's no way that we have, number one, the ability to recruit the talent we need to staff that 24/7. So we did that through a company. We've offshored that, or not offshored that, excuse me, we've outsourced that. No offshore, strike that from the minutes. We have outsourced that to a firm. We're very, very pleased with that. And to improve on our cybersecurity stance, we're starting to add Albert sensors, eye sensors to the networks on a lot of the county infrastructure. It was a slow go at first, but I think now the counties and municipalities are understanding that we want to partner. It's not something that we want to come in and tell anyone what they're doing wrong. We want that data. We want to be able to share that data across our state to make our state stronger. 13 is not a lot, but that's the only funding I could find, scrounge my pennies up to try to be able to fund. But we're really looking at, we will be, deploying all of those in all 100 counties. Very excited about that. It's something that we see on the future for us that's going to be a good opportunity. The partnership is really where we're trying to grow. So we're trying to make sure that everyone understands that we do have a partnership that's available. The state can help, and we want to help. We've had an incident where sheriff's sheriff's agency had some ransomware attacks, brought down their systems, brought down their email. We actually spun up the email for them. So they utilized some of our services, which was good. For me, now I have to figure out cost. So the sheriff come back and said, Eric, I really like this. Can I just leave it with you guys? I said, sure. I said, but I can't give it to you. I said, we'll have to work on cost. So then we talked about cost, and he was like, well, you know what? That's cheaper than what I was paying before. I said, well, that's a bonus. We'll keep doing what we're doing. So things like that, we're really trying to strive to do a better job of educating our community and our state about what offerings we have and what we can do to support. When you talk about cybersecurity, I know it's top of everybody's mind is election security. So in 2018, Secretary Hooks and I called it our dry run, getting ready for 2020. We didn't realize we would have other opportunities thanks to the way our elections have happened here recently. In 2018, we did the first thing that's ever happened in this state. We pulled in our Board of Elections. We pulled in our National Guard, our Emergency Management, all of our federal partners, and DIT to come in and work together on that election night. So we stood up our Joint Force Headquarters, which is our Emergency Operations Center. We stood up that event and had great opportunities there to share. So that's something that, I'm gonna move a little bit, there we go. There's something that we've never done before. So as the Board of Elections would see some anomalies, we could pass that to the Guard, or our staff would look at. So we had a lot of sharing. So we could actually look and try to defend better than we ever have. So that was a good dry run. We've learned from that. And over our past few elections, we've fine-tuned that, and we've gotten better at sharing and also trying to create a baseline. Because when you come in the night of the election and try to say, this is what I think the normal is, that's not a good way to do it. So we've learned, we've grown, and we're ready and prepared for the future. But when you think about, I've already talked about the National Guard and their partnership. It's such a great partnership. But when you think about that, you've got to think about the workforce. So what does the workforce in cyber look like? We have a shortfall. I'm not going to try to quote you a number because it changes every day. The numbers always increase, though. They're never decreasing. So there's some things that we're doing. We're actually trying to look at contract resources to help the Guard because our National Guard is only so large. and there's only so many cyber teams on that guard. So we're looking at ways that we can increase our footprint in workforce. One of the ways is we actually do a cybersecurity apprenticeship. In the past, it was a disabled veterans program. We've actually now opened it up. I got some of my veterans came up and said, "Eric, why is it only our disabled veterans? It should be all of us." So we made that something that happened. So now it's all of our veterans qualify. We actually partner with a company called ISG that they train our veterans 1 day a week. The other 4, they're working with us or an agency, because we have agencies that do not have enough staff to cover for their security needs. So we've worked through that, great partnership there. We've also worked with our community colleges. Our community colleges are a great way for us to find resources. So they're hiring, they're starting to do more cyber certificates, more cyber programs. So if we have individuals that are enrolled in those programs, how do we pull them in for an internship? What can we do there? So those are some things that we're working on in the future and now. But it all comes back to that one magical thing, funding. The way we're funded now, we get our biannual budget, and it's a 1-year approach. What are we going to spend on cyber this year? Instead of the next 10 years, what do we need? What do we need to cover us for a state? And what do we need to make sure that we have our war chest, as I call it, ready? If we have an agency, if we have a municipality, who can we help? How do we help them? Right now, we have to figure out that. That's my job. Our Chief Risk Officer, Maria Thompson, she just comes to me and says, "Eric, I need." And it's my job to figure out how am I going to make that happen, because we are not going to let the residents of this state be without. And that's our job. So we're doing that now, but we're trying to do a better job of educate our stakeholders so that they understand, hey, if you have an attack, here's what happens. Here's the economy. Here's what happens to the economy. We've had some attacks to our school system. That got some attention. And unfortunately, I say this, I never let a good crisis go unknown. And I can say this because we're kind of in a closed group. We did have an attack on our ABC commission. I used that and said, hey, you might not be able to buy liquor for your events anymore. So that really got a lot of attention. It is something that we pay attention to. We really have to how do we help educate? What can we do better? So our team is really focused on that. And also, if you look also, NASCIO, when they did their polling of the 50 states on the percentage of cybersecurity money based on the total percent of IT budget, North Carolina was one of the lowest. So we're really trying to look at that and how do we offset that and what do we do to improve? So there's areas like that that we're working on as well. I can talk on cyber all day. Let's talk about broadband. So if you look at broadband, we do have gaps in our coverage. It's really to the east and to the west where we have our rural areas. So as you move across our state, we've got to do a better job, because if you look at what broadband brings to those communities and to those environments, it's commerce, it's education, it's workforce, it's healthcare. I mean, you think about how do you apply for a job today. It's not, I'm going to tell my age too, you don't go in and sit down and fill out an application. It's online. So we've got to do a better job to make sure our workforce is ready and prepared and help our economics in those areas. So with that, we've been awarded some money through a great grant program. We're really pushing to try to get that money out. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a second. But if you look at the things that we can do now, so the governor signed our Executive Order 91 in the spring that allows us to create a task force for Connect NC is what we're calling it. So we've gone out, we've met with partners, we've met with business leaders, we've met with small business owners, we've met with anybody that will meet with us to talk about their obstacles. And some of the things that we're doing does not require any money. If we heard from our providers about dig once. So we work with the Department of Transportation. How can we, when we're having road projects, we've got conduit available, we've got fiber maybe we can put in while we're doing the road project. So that partnership was there. There's things that we can do, and I'll say it, as a state government agency, what can we do to cut some of that red tape, to make it easier for our providers and our community to move forward? So we've got a lot of great feedback. We've got some tasks in front of us. The focus really is on, we have a broadband plan. We need to refresh that. The task force is doing that. We've also, tasked them with coming up with innovative ideas. What are some things that we can do? I know they kind of looked at me crazy when I said, have we really researched our satellite programs? Do we need all this fiber? What can we do? If Elon Musk is launching, 33,000 satellites, there's a reason why. So let's figure out what's going on. So we're doing some things to try to work on that, and we've got a lot of property. If you look at the state's property, are we utilizing our property for the fixed wireless teams? So what can we do there? There are barriers there that we need to break down. So also I'm proud of our team working on the homework gap. So we have our kids and our teachers that may have connectivity at schools, but when they go home, they may not have connectivity. So that's the homework gap. So what can we do to help with that? So we applied for a grant with our sister agency, the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources, and the State Librarian Association, and we were awarded $250,000. So we've purchased some Wi-Fi devices, and I'm also going to tell my age again. So instead of going to the library and checking out a book, they're checking out Wi-Fi devices. So now they can complete those homework assignments. And the team has really gotten out of the box, and we actually put Wi-Fi on buses. We worked with the school system and put Wi-Fi on the bus because some of these commutes these kids have are 2 and 3 hours in the rural areas. So, hey, I'm trying to help the bus driver too. If little Eric in the back is actually doing his homework instead of thumping little Johnny on his ear, we're all better off. So, things like that, how can we help? And then those buses are parked. And you have more community schools. So that community now also has a hot spot in that area. So things like that we're trying to think, what are we not doing? Some simple things that we can do. We know we can lay fiber. That's easy. What are some things that we can do now? Also, another project that we applied for a grant, the ARC committee, the Appalachian Resource Commission, that the governor co-chairs with our Health and Human Services partner. So they're looking at doing some telepsychiatry in the western part of the state. So how do we do that? What are some things there that we're missing that we can actually do a better job of serving our citizens and our residents? But if you think about what's changed, one of the things I was very proud of is we actually, the governor signed a bill this summer to allow our electrical co-ops to join in this fight, because it is a fight. We got to cover our state. And now they have the opportunity to do that. And they're a great success story if you look at Surrey County. There's a lot of places that they can do a great job to help defeat that broadband issue that we are facing. Also, our broadband infrastructure office, we have a huge technical team, that's 3, that covers our state, but they go out, they meet with, sit down and say, what can we do to help you? We have a community playbook that we can talk about. If you see funding, if you apply for federal grants, we can help federal grants. If you awarded that grant, we've got them prepared and ready so that they can move forward once they get those funding issues resolved. So a lot of things like that, we've actually got them in the field day to day, trying to make sure they see us, they know who we are, and they know that we're there to help. I talked about the GREAT grant a little bit, the Growing Rural Economics with Access to Technologies. It's a great initiative. We got $10 million. I was hoping it might be another 0 at the end, but we'll take 10 for now. It covered 18 counties. They're Tier 1 counties. And with that, there was a public match for the grantee of 6. The total was about 6.8, I think, in the end. So that is a great partnership we're seeing. There's a lot of fixed wireless in that grant issuance. So we're interested to see how that goes. And just what else can we do? And also this year, we just signed another bill that allows us to have $15 million a year for the next 2 years to increase that funding. So we're excited about that as well. So I'm going to move on. I've got my flash card up there. So I want to talk about innovation in a minute. I want to make sure I hit that. Go back. So if you think about innovation, you think about public sector. Hope it don't start. There we go. That's last. I gave you a preview, I'm sorry. But if you talk about innovation in the public sector, there's things we've got to do to change our culture. Our culture has always been, we can't fail. So we're really focusing our teams on, if you're going to fail, fail fast. We don't want the $40 million fail. We want the fail now. Let's fail fast, let's try, and let's move on. Let's pick the next. We have got to innovate. So we're pushing our teams to do that. And with that, I'll close. I think I'm at the end of my time. I'm running over a little bit, I believe. But if you really look at what we're doing, it's very encouraging. I encourage you all to work with us, talk with us. We're always looking for opportunities. And last but not least, I want to leave you with this video. It's our Disabled Veterans Program. It was our first year. It gives you some stories of what the program means to our veterans. And with that, I'm going to leave you with the video.
You put your hand on a telephone or a keyboard, you need some cybersecurity support.
Cybersecurity is it's not the next front, it is the front.
There's a huge shortage of personnel, so being able to take veterans and utilize them in a means that is beneficial for both of us is, a great proposition for the state.
Veterans transitioning from the military look for careers that are sustainable and that they can easily transition into. And because veterans have the natural tendency to defend, cybersecurity makes for one ideal career field for them.
As a veteran, I want to give back. I want to be, a productive citizen.
By securing these systems, the nation is safer. So me as a soldier, I feel good about that.
And we found that grabbing this group of patriots who have a natural bent towards security made it very easy for us to develop this program.
I have so appreciated when people say, thank you for your service. But when I was selected for this program, it said to me, thank you for your service on a whole different level. It didn't just thank me for my service. It thanked my family for the sacrifice that they made, because you don't do 22 years without your family sacrificing. But this program gave my family a major sense of security.
Some of us have put a lot of our lives on hold in order to do things for the protection of the United States. And so I believe that it's very crucial for us to actually assist them where we can.